I used to think I knew what it meant to be rich. Make good money, spend little, save what's left. But the day I started hanging out with people who were truly rich, not just financially, but emotionally and mentally, everything crumbled. Because right there, in the way they carried themselves, I realized I was still thinking like a poor person. Not out of malice, but out of repetition, out of culture, out of survival. These people did subtle things, almost invisible. Things no school teaches you, no generic motivational video ever shows. Simple but brutal habits. Once you see them, you can't unsee them. And that's when my transformation began. Not from the outside in, but in the most powerful way there is, from the inside out. If you feel like there's a freer, more strategic, wealthier version of yourself waiting to be activated, go ahead and like this video and subscribe to the channel. The next few minutes might show you why you're still stuck and how to flip the game. Topic 1. They always think long-term, even when winning short-term. The first thing that shook me was how they handled time. While I'd get excited about an unexpected bonus or a month with more income, they were asking completely different questions. How does this fit into my 5-year strategy? 5 years? I could barely plan the next month. I lived by the logic of immediacy. When money came in, it felt like relief. I'd spend it to ease the pressure, to feel like I was living, as if saving it was too rare an option. They didn't. They celebrated quietly, and almost always reinvested. Not just in business or investments, but in themselves. I learned that short-term thinking is what keeps a lot of smart people stuck, because it gives fast rewards but never solid ones. It's like planting a seed and eating the sprout the next day. The wealthy people around me taught me the power of intentional waiting, of giving up the now for something bigger, of planning with clarity, even when everything seemed unstable. And the curious part? They never seemed in a hurry, because they knew that planting properly is what guarantees a real harvest. Today, every decision I make runs through one filter. Does this build the future, or just patch the present? And that question alone changed my financial life. Comment. I think long-term. If you've also realized that real wealth isn't about speed, it's about vision. Topic 2. They protect their energy as if it were money, because it is. This was one of the things that hit me hardest. I thought rich people had crazy busy schedules, packed with meetings, endless commitments, 1,000 tasks a day. But when I really started paying attention, I noticed something that flipped a switch in my head. They protected their own energy as if it were a scarce resource, because it is. While I was saying yes to everything and everyone, trying to please, not miss opportunities, staying available, they chose with cold precision, picked meetings, filtered conversations, said no with a lightness I envied. And it wasn't arrogance. It was strategy. They knew wasted energy costs more than any bill. That being everywhere all the time is the fastest way to disconnect from yourself. And that keeping a clear mind, stable emotions, and sharp intuition is the kind of asset you'll never see on a bank statement, but makes all the difference. That's when I started asking myself, who am I spending my energy on? What drains me? What fuels me? Because yes, I needed to earn more. But before that, I needed to stop sabotaging myself with exhaustion disguised as productivity. Today, I protect my energy the way I protect my money. And the funny thing, ever since I did that, both started growing together. Comment, my energy is my currency. If you've also realized that focus, clarity, and peace are invisible and non-negotiable forms of wealth. Topic 3. They talk little about what they're doing and show a lot through results. I used to think talking about my plans was a way to commit. I'd share everything with everyone. Ideas, projects, goals, dreams. I thought that by exposing them, I was creating good pressure. But in practice, I was sabotaging myself. Either I felt too watched, or I'd get advice that made me doubt myself. The wealthy people I met did the opposite. They barely said a word. And yet, you could feel that something was being built. They were in no rush to prove anything to anyone. At first, this bothered me. It sounded arrogant. But then I realized it was maturity. Because when you're clear about what you're doing, you don't need an audience. You need focus. I learned that the more I talked, the more energy I scattered. And that part of the strength of a plan lies in letting it incubate. Protected from eyes, opinions, comparisons. Today, if I share something, it's because it's already done. Already tested, validated, and most importantly, matured inside me. I no longer need to talk to feel like I'm moving. My results speak, and they speak louder than any promise. Comment, I build in silence. If you've also realized that what truly grows doesn't need to be announced, only sustained. Topic 4. They treat money as an ally, not as a villain or a savior. For years, my relationship with money was emotional. When it came in, I felt safe. When it went out, I felt lost. Sometimes I treated money like the enemy, as if it were to blame for my anxiety. Other times, like a savior, as if it were going to solve everything. But I noticed something completely different in wealthy people. They spoke about money naturally, without fear, without attachment, without idolizing it. Money to them was a tool, a part of the strategy, not the center of the universe. I realized that those who see money as the villain live in tension, and those who see it as the savior live in dependency. Both views are fragile. Both put you in a position of imbalance. It was only when I started seeing money as an ally, neutral, strategic, functional, that I could finally breathe easier. Stop acting on impulse. Make more conscious decisions. And most of all, take responsibility. Today, I neither run from money nor put it on a pedestal. I talk to it, look at it, take care of it. And it takes care of me. Comment: money is my ally. If you've also realized that financial freedom starts with how you relate to what you already have, not what you hope to have. Topic 5. They keep minimal but consistent habits and never negotiate with their own discipline. I was always that person who started everything at full speed. Spreadsheets, goals, challenges, promises, all very intense for the first 3 days. Then fatigue, lack of motivation, or life's surprises pulled me right back to square one. And I thought the problem was my lack of willpower. But when I started closely observing truly wealthy women, I realized the game was different. They weren't intense. They were consistent. They didn't do 1,000 things. They did the essentials, every single day. And they didn't negotiate with their own discipline. One of them told me a sentence I'll never forget. Habits aren't for when I feel inspired. They're for when I don't. And that became one of the biggest lessons of my life. I began building a foundation with minimal habits. Small but sacred things. Checking my finances every Monday. Studying 15 minutes a day. Reviewing my goals weekly. Nothing extraordinary. But for the first time, consistent. And that's when I understood. Transformation doesn't come from intensity. It comes from conscious repetition. Today, my routine feels like solid ground. Even on days when everything seems messy, I know where I stand. Comment: discipline is my foundation. If you've also realized that quiet consistency is worth more than loud motivation. Topic 6. They don't compare. They observe and adapt. For a long time, my decisions came from comparison. I'd see someone posting results and instantly feel behind. I'd see someone buying something expensive and feel like I had to do the same. Every win someone else had felt like a reminder of what I still didn't. That kept me trapped in a silent cycle of frustration and rushing. Rushing to catch up, to make up, to not feel smaller. And in that hurry, I never listened to myself. Never asked if what I wanted was truly mine, or just a reflection of what I saw. When I started spending time with wealthy women, something shocked me. They didn't compare. They observed. And they used what they saw as a strategic reference, not as a measure of worth. They knew exactly where they stood, where they wanted to go, and most importantly, what their own timing was. Not because they were more evolved, but because they had learned that comparison drains energy, while observation creates clarity. That's when I changed my approach. Today, when I see someone thriving, I ask myself, what can I learn from this? What can I adapt for myself? No envy, no judgment, no pressure, because comparison traps you. But conscious observation sets you free. Comment: I don't compare, I observe. If you've also realized that every woman has her own timing, and yours is far too valuable to waste on someone else's rush. Topic 7. They create before consuming. They produce before reacting. There was a time when my days all started the same way. Phone in hand, feed open, and a flood of content hitting me before I even got out of bed. By the time I noticed, I'd already gone through comparisons, distractions, and often a nameless kind of discouragement. And then came the worst part, trying to produce something after consuming everyone else's. When I started observing wealthy women, especially those working with creativity, strategy, leadership, I noticed a pattern that completely changed my routine. They created before consuming. They produced before reacting. They woke up and went straight to their own projects, writing, reviewing goals, moving their businesses forward. Only later, with time and intention, would they consume something. And it wasn't just anything. It was chosen content, with purpose. That order of priority taught me something powerful. Those who create, lead. Those who only consume, obey. Since then, I changed my mornings. No more phone as my alarm clock. No more being invaded before I listen to myself. Now I write before I scroll. decide before I absorb, produce before I react. And that has made a brutal difference not just in my productivity, but in my mental and financial clarity. Comment, I create before I consume. If you've also realized that presence and direction come from within, not from what others post. Topic 8. They keep their standards even when no one is watching. This was, without a doubt, one of the hardest lessons I learned from observing truly wealthy women. Not the ones who live off appearances, but the ones who build legacies. They don't depend on applause. They don't need an audience to stay disciplined. They keep their standards in silence and boredom, even when no one is watching. And that made me look at myself with brutal honesty. How many times did I only do the right thing when someone was watching? How many times did I go the extra mile on content just because I knew I was going to post it? How many times did I keep a promise only because I had said it out loud? But what about behind the scenes? On the ordinary days with no audience, no feed, no likes, these women showed me that's where true power is built. In repetition without witnesses. In the quiet choice to maintain the standard even when it would be easier to slack off. It's in the invisible that structure is born. Today, my measuring stick is no longer the eyes of others. It's my own. I want to be the woman who keeps promises to herself, who acts with excellence even without immediate reward. Because real wealth isn't what you do when everything is visible. It's what you sustain when no one is looking. Comment, I keep my standards in silence. If you've also realized that consistency without an audience is what separates dreamers from achievers. These habits didn't come to me as theory. They found me when I was already tired of effort that never paid off, of the endless almost, and of the emptiness that remained even when I did everything right. What changed wasn't the world. It was the way I started positioning myself within it. I began thinking like a rich woman, acting like a rich woman, choosing like a rich woman, long before I had the bank account to match it. Because wealthy people don't wait until they have to change. They change in order to have, and they build their reality on habits that may look small, but when sustained, transform everything. If this video lit a spark in you, go back and watch it again with pen and paper. Not as entertainment, but as a map. And start with one habit. Just one. But start. Because the woman you want to be in the future is waiting for you to act like her today. Comment, I already act like the woman I want to be, if this video reminded you of the power already inside you, and how it only needs to be activated. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, now's the time. Here you'll find direction, truth, and routines to support your breakthrough.